The Clippers are arguably in the most difficult situation of any franchise in the NBA right now. They have one of the biggest question marks in the league looming over their heads. Now, how this question is answered will decide the future of this franchise for many, many years to come. And that question is, will Kawhi Leonard accept his player option? For those of you who are unaware, Kawhi Leonard has a player option for this offseason, meaning he can either choose to opt into his contract for next year or decline the player option and become an unrestricted free agent. Accepting his player option would grant him $36 million for next season, making him among the top 10 highest paid players in the NBA. In this video, I want to look at what Kawhi Leonard's best option is, reasons for why he would and wouldn't accept his player option, rumors we've heard about the situation, and what I personally think is best for him and his future. There's going to be a ton of information about the situation in this video, so be sure to stick around till the end to make sure you don't miss anything. Before we get into it, a quick reminder that we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. This is absolutely insane, and we're on pace to shatter my goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. So thank you guys so much for subscribing. If this is your first time visiting the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on the notification bell. I'm posting NBA content multiple times a week, covering all things going on in the NBA right now. If you're returning, thanks for tuning in, and let's get right into the video. So it goes without saying that $36 million is a lot of money, even by NBA standards. Kawhi isn't eligible for a supermax contract, so he's only eligible for a regular max contract that could be offered by any team in the NBA if he declines his player option. This leaves the Clippers without a whole lot of bargaining power if he does decide to decline. He would still only be allowed to sign a max contract which falls in the $200 million to $250 million range. Hypothetically, it would make sense for Kawhi to decline his player option, even if he plans on signing with the Clippers in free agency, for the simple reason that he would be able to restructure his contract into a longer-term deal that would have him on contract well into his 30s. He's 30 years old right now, and accepting his player option would only leave him on contract through the age of 31. And at this point in his career, it makes sense to want to sign something like a 4-year contract to set yourself up financially for the later years of your career. Now, the Clippers do have the benefit of having his bird rights. For anyone unfamiliar with what bird rights are, bird rights essentially mean that a team can go over the cap to sign a free agent that was previously under contract with that team. This means that they can match whatever contract Kawhi may be offered, even if it's well over the salary cap. Again, this point is useless if he chooses to accept his player option, but it's good to be aware of the implications that this has for the Clippers if he does end up declining his player option in favor of entering free agency. Now, let's get to some of the rumors surrounding the situation. It was reported by Kevin O'Connor from TheRinger.com that the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat plan on making a hard push in an attempt to sign Kawhi Leonard. Now, this is par for the course for Miami because they typically are rumored to want just about every single big-name free agent. But the Mavericks is something to monitor. There's no doubt that Luka is one of the most impressive young stars we've seen in the NBA, arguably since LeBron James. It makes sense to assume that just about every player in the league would be foaming at the mouth to team up with him in an attempt to win some championships. Now, for Kawhi Leonard, teaming up with Luka gives him a much better star to work with than Paul George, and with the Mavericks looking to trade Kristaps Porzingis, it could be interesting to see what kind of team could be put around a duo of Kawhi Leonard and Luka Doncic. But does it make sense for Kawhi to leave in free agency? Looking at the Clippers' salary situation, things get a little bit dicey. The Clippers have $75 million tied up in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They have almost $30 million combined in Marcus Morris and Patrick Beverley, and $12 million is tied up in Luke Kennard. That's $117 million tied up into only 5 guys, and 2 of them aren't even starters for the Clippers. Even when factoring in the expiring contracts on their team, it still leaves them above the salary cap. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, why don't they just trade some of those bad contracts? Good question, but with what assets? Who's going to trade for Patrick Beverley or Luke Kennard without picks being attached? These aren't particularly high value players. You're not going to get even an equal level player in return, and you'd have to attach some sort of asset in order to get an improvement. So what do the Clippers do to get better if Kawhi accepts his player option? Well, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of options. They would be relying on Reggie Jackson re-signing on a similar contract, which is super unlikely given that he's only making $2 million this previous year, and he played incredible in the playoffs. There's no doubt he's going to hail anywhere from $10 to $15 million a year. You're also betting on Terrence Mann taking a leap in his development, which is possible, but he still may have a ways to go before he's a high-level contributor. There's not really any big-name free agents that they could sign, and their improvements will probably have to be done through trade. Without assets, though, that's going to be incredibly difficult. They traded all of their first-round picks to Oklahoma City in the Paul George trade, and it's left them in a really difficult situation. Now, one thing to take into account here is that Kawhi has by far one of the most secretive inner circles in the entire NBA. They are notorious for not leaking information, and their moves are highly calculated and kept in secrecy. Any reporter that claims to know what Kawhi's next move is probably doesn't actually know what they're talking about. So what do I think Kawhi Leonard will do? Well, to be honest, I could see it going either way. On one hand, Kawhi did call Los Angeles his home. There were all these marketing campaigns around Kawhi and the Clippers and the city of Los Angeles. It would look funny if he were to leave them after such a short stint. On the other hand, we all know that Kawhi Leonard only cares about one thing, and that is winning basketball games. Regardless of how bad it may look for him to leave LA after calling it his home, Kawhi Leonard 100% does not care about any of that. He's going to do whatever puts him in the best possible situation to maximize his chances of winning rings. Let's keep in mind here, Kawhi has 2 championships and 2 finals MVPs. He's in rare territory with those accolades. He has the opportunity to put himself up there with some pretty highly ranked players if he's able to win another ring or 2. However, the Clippers front office has proven that they're willing to do anything and everything to keep him happy. LA is his home, and it wouldn't make a ton of sense for him to go off to another team when he has the opportunity to essentially run it back with the same squad next year. So the question needs to be asked, do you really see Kawhi Leonard winning a ring with the Clippers? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.